Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. This is not a political talk. However, it is a little bit of a follow-up to what I was talking about. And it comes from a book I'm recently reading and some revelations I've had about what is going on in this country, particularly in our environment. And I'm going to start with the question is, what is a true believer? A true believer is a fanatic. A true believer is a cultist. This term was coined in the early 50s by Eric Hoffer, excuse me. In the 1940s, he's a longshoreman from San Francisco, and you may know this name. He became a very famous philosopher. He wrote philosophical treatises in his spare time at night, and he became very famous. President Eisenhower, I don't know if you remember that name, even quoted him in one of his first televised TV speeches. Eric Hoffer talked about true believers. And the book, which I recommend, you can get it fairly inexpensively if you have a Kindle, gives concise insight into what drives the mind of a fanatic and the dynamics of a mass movement, which you could describe what Renee was talking about. Now, this came home to me as I listened to a recent podcast on a book by the author who wrote the podcast. The book is called Homegrown, and it's about, you might remember this name, Timothy McVeigh and the rise, not the beginning, the rise of right-wing extremism. Timothy McVeigh, he was a loner. He was unable to obtain a good union job like his father and his grandfather before him because they didn't exist when he was that age. He was in the military, became an expert sharpshooter. However, he failed because he couldn't get into the Green Berets. He was unable to assimilate into the community, except into the community of guns and to extremist thoughts. Distrust of the federal government, he became more and more extreme until in 1995, he and Terry McNichols assembled enough materials to put together a bomb that he delivered in a truck outside the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, killing 198 people, including 19 children. This was an extremist. Now, the line that goes from Eric Hoffer talking about a fanatic to Timothy McVeigh is a direct line, because the extremist is somebody who is sort of, I won't say ostracized, but cannot fit into a community. And part of it is the extremist point of view, but also the other part is what has happened to our communities. They have broken down. Renee described church communities, which don't exist in many cases anymore, except maybe in the evangelical movement. And those communities are pretty tight. Communities around our schools, communities in our neighborhoods. Think of all the communities that don't exist. And when people like Timothy McVeigh cannot assimilate into communities, they form their own communities outside of it. So my philosophy is never bring a problem without at least the thought of a solution. How do we resolve this? What do we do to build our communities up? Well, we're in a community here, our Voyager community, and we're tight and we're close. And we need to do things to keep building our community. Our September party is one thing, where we have activities outside, where we feel like we're part and we belong. But how about around us? What do we do? Get involved in something. Get involved and build the community around you. Now, that might be a political movement. Go lick envelopes for some political person who you believe in and get the vote out. It might be in something as simple as your homeowners association. God, oh no. Why did I do it? But I didn't have to become on the board to become involved in my homeowners community, but I did, and I'm contributing in that way. But I do things that put me in touch with people in my community. For example, as the treasurer, I buy things, and we bought some umbrellas for the pools. And I did not want to buy new umbrellas every year because we did the same thing last year. So the umbrella guy said, you got to put these down at night because the wind is the worst thing. And if there's wind at night or rain, they can destroy it. So every night, I or somebody else walk to the pool, put those umbrellas down and tie them up. Now, what does that do? It puts me in the community. I talk to people. Hey, how you doing? Are you having a good time tonight? I get to know other people around me. They see my face. So I am building my community in a small way. And that's something you can do. Reach out to others, get involved. Now, most of us are beyond the age of school parents, but if you have children who have kids in school, get involved in the school, help them get involved in the school, build bonds, build your network, build your bonds with other people, and make people around you feel comfortable and welcome. We have new people in the club. It's important to make them feel welcome, feel part of this club, so that when they're not here, they miss us, right? They miss not being here. I have a bicycle club I ride with, and I like the people there. And when I'm not there, I miss them. Some people say, well, if you move, you could ride around here. And I say, but I wouldn't have my club. I wouldn't have my community, the people who I've been supporting all this time and been supporting me. So part of the solution to extremism, now I'm not saying this is the ultimate solution, but we have to build our communities, and we have to rebuild our communities because they have broken down. As busy as everybody's life is, they're too busy earning and making a living to get involved with other people. However, unless we do that, unless we reach out, we are not going to be able to bring this country back together again. Shakespeare once said, and we experienced this, I want to say, excuse me, in the 60s and the 70s during Vietnam. And Shakespeare said, people go crazy en masse. In other words, we go crazy together, but they only come back to sanity one by one. So to build our communities, we have to bring people back into our communities. We have to bring them back one by one. And maybe then we can get a start to putting our country back together again. Mr. Toastmaster.